Hi, welcome to GGKCS, a multi-generational podcast / FlossTube for fans of all things knitting, cross-stitch, and geeky. I'm CC, and I'm so glad you're here today. Today is Sunday, the 20th of February, 2022, and this is episode 479. I'd like to say a big welcome back. I love y'all to all returning viewers, and a big hi to any new viewers. Thanks for giving us a shot. Hope you enjoy the show. Okay, so I know I've been gone for a few weeks.
I'm not going to go into super detail, but I had a pretty bad mental health situation. I had to miss work for almost a week, actually for more than a week. And it was just a really hard time. I'm not going to go into details, but I feel like I'm kind of over the hump and into the downswing now. So just doing what I can.
I want to call it a flare up because that's the language we use in fibromyalgia is, when you have a flare. And so it kind of was a similar type thing, but it was mental health related. So, but thank you so much to everyone who reached out, who sent kind words, and just were thinking of me. And I'm very, very grateful for each of you. So, I have some damning news that I'll share later in the show, but I think we'll probably go ahead and get started. I'm going to have to record this I know I'm going to have to record this probably in parts because I've got a medical massage appointment in just a little while for my shoulder and my fibromyalgia. Shoulder is still giving me really big issues, and insurance is not being kind in their ways of supposedly helping. So, but I am seeing medical massage, and they are working on it. So, for you won't even know that I've been gone most likely, but I will know. So, but we'll make it happen. We'll make it happen. So, all right, well, let's go ahead and get started. All right, let's talk about what's on my needles. First up in my kitty cat bag from Little Fish Stitches, I am working on a pair of shorty socks for me. You're going to recognize the yarn because I knit Dammy a pair of socks out of this yarn. This is my French Vanilla Cappuccino sock pattern, available at javapearldesigns.com. And as always, everything I talk about in this week's episode is at our show notes, ggkcs.com. Okay, I'm using US 1.5, 2.5 mil needles, and I'm using Rock and String Creations Jitterbug sock in the Meow colorway. So I'm doing shorty socks, as I said, and sock number 1 is complete. I love this colorway. It's like all the different colors of different types of cats. I have not woven in my ends yet. So there's sock 1, and sock number 2, I've gotten a good start on. So toes done, and I'm working on the foot. So this is just a fun knit and using leftovers, and I don't have near as many pair of shorty socks as I do full length socks. So I'm just utilizing these leftovers to knit up shorty socks for myself. So, all right, and then in my maker bag from Nerdbird Makery, I'm working on my year-long project. This is the Dust of Snow wrap by Curious Handmade Helen Stewart. And I am using US 6's 4 mil needles, and I'm using yarn that Silver D and friends put together as a yarn advent calendar for me back in December. And I'm using US 6's 4 mil needles. Did I already say that? I may have. And if I average 12 rows a week, I'll be done by the end of the year. And it actually gives me a little leeway in case I miss any days or whatever. But it averages out to about 2 colors a month. But I've already finished, well, no, I'm not done with color 4. So just since it's been a while since I've been on, I will go through all the colors, but I won't do that on a regular basis because that's going to end up as 24 colors. The bottom color, the very first color, is Barocco Folio in the 4 Pearls colorway. The blues and oranges is Into the World Pakeko Sock in Bigger on the Inside colorway. The purple is Sweet Georgia Yarns Tough Love Sock in the Magician colorway. And then this color I'm currently knitting with is, it's not in the show notes yet, Desert Vista Dye Works Alyssa Zombody Edwards. And I'm in love with this color. Look at that pinks and greens and speckles. Sorry, the cable is like twisting. So I have, let's see here. I have 2 more rows of this color 4, and then I will start blending in color 5, which is this gorgeous Sweet Georgia Yarns Fingering in the Birch colorway. And let's see, will I finish color 4 completely this week? Yes, by the end of this week, I will be done with color 4 completely, and we'll have started with color 5. But as you can see, like there's a garter section, there's these waves, there is this central double decrease section here, and then there is a lace section. And then it's just repeated through the whole thing. And it's got a, trying not to get it in my coffee. It's got an attached I-cord on both edges, and it decreases on, if you're looking at it the right side way on the, like when I'm knitting on it, it's on the left side. And when I'm knitting on it on the right side, it has that I-cord, but then it also has just an eyelet lace. So I am making good progress on that. I just do 2 rows a day on it, and 1 day a week I don't have to do anything on it, or I don't get to do anything on it because it's really actually a very enjoyable knit. And I'm glad that I set it up this way to be done over multiple months, because it's making it be like, I'm just getting a taste of it every day. And so I'm really enjoying that and being able to just do bit by bit on it every day and watch it come together. So, all right, that is everything that's on my needles other than today's preemie hat, but I've got quite a few FOs to share with you. So let's move on to the next segment. All right, let's talk about my knitting FOs. I think what I'll do is I'll do all 3 of the preemie hats together first. So this is my top-down preemie hat pattern that you can get for free on our website, javapearldesigns.com, and I use US 6's 4mm needles on it. Okay, let's see. Okay, this is hat number 5. This was done on the 30th of January. And I used Barocco Vintage DK in the white colorway, Barocco Folio in the 4 Pearls colorway, and Bernay Softy Baby in the Princess Pearls colorway. No, Princess Pearls colorway. So there's that one. Okay, and then I finished something else, but we'll come back to that. Okay, this one is number 6 for the year that I knit on the 6th of February. And I used Into the World Pakeko Sock in the Bigger on the Inside colorway and Soundview Fiber Mill Fingering in the Charcoal Black colorway. I just held those 2 doubled for the entire hat, and I love how it turns out. You can see that I am using up, I'm using yarn that when I finish on the Dust of Snow wrap, I've started using some of it in preemie hats. So, all right, so there's that one. And then number 7, I did this one last Sunday on the 13th. And this is Barocco Folio in the 4 Pearls colorway, Uru Yarn Sugared Worsted in the Roses colorway, and Soundview Fiber Mill Fingering in the Charcoal Black colorway. So there's 3 preemie hats. Let's see if I can hold them on. 3 preemie hats from when I was gone. And then the other thing I finished, it's hard to do this one-handed or like minimally dealing with my shoulder here. Okay, here we go. I did a pair of shorty socks for me. Again, this is from my French Vanilla Cappuccino sock pattern that you can get on our website, javapearldesigns.com. I used US 1.5, 2.5mm needles, and the yarn is West Yorkshire Spinner's Signature 4-ply in the Fairy Lights colorway. And this is left over from I think a couple different pairs of socks, because I think I had 2 skeins of this. And the modification I made to make this pattern work for shorty socks is so I did these toe up, and after I finished the heel, I did approximately 3-ish inches of stockinette knitting in the round for the leg, and then I bound off using Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off, or is it Judy's? I never can remember whether it's, because one of them is the cast on and one of them is the bind off. Whichever J is the bind off, that's the one I used, because that just makes it stretchy, and then it just rolls. But by using that bind off, it gives it enough stretch to be able to go up over the foot, but then it just gives you a nice rolled cuff instead of doing a ribbed cuff. So that is another pair of shorty socks for my drawer. So that is all of the things that I finished knitting wise while I've been gone. But I did finish a cross stitch thing, plus worked on some cross stitch things. It's been very interesting to modify how I can work on projects. I work in very small movements, like down here. So that makes the socks a really good project, because I'm doing those on the 9-inch circulars, so I can do very small movements here. I'm using ice pack a lot. I am doing just like on the Dust of Snow Wrap, it's perfect because I'm only doing 2 rows. So I'm not having to do a lot of motion for a long extended period of time. Cross stitch has been a little more difficult, but I've been trying to instead of because I'm right-handed, instead of like pulling the needle a lot of the time, pulling it that way, I put the needle in the hole and like move the project to pull the thread all the way through when it's a longer piece of thread. If it's a shorter piece of thread that I can do without too much shoulder movement, it's working. But like last night, I did the Black Needle Society monthly Zoom call, and I got to a point where I was just like, I have not crafted this many hours in a row, and I alternated between knitting and cross stitch. I was just like, I'm enjoying the conversation, so I'm just going to sit here and listen and talk, but I can't do any more. My shoulders screaming. So, you do what you got to do to be able to make it work, because I refuse to let them take knitting and cross stitch from me. That is one thing that kept me going during the mental health break. So, all right, well, let me get this stuff off my desk and get the stuff ready to show you cross stitch. And now it's time for FlossTube. Okay, so I'm gonna go out of order, but I want to show you what I finished. I'm trying to get it to where I can hold something behind it. So I finished my February ornament for, I'm doing cross stitching an ornament every month. So this is Mitten Kitten by Satsuma Street. And I just bought the kit off of her Etsy. So it came with the perforated paper and all the floss and the beads and the sequins. And I just think it's adorable. It took me 11 days to stitch it. And of course I work on lots of different projects over the course of a day. I don't just focus on one thing, obviously, as you've heard. So I need to fully finish this. So I did buy felt that is adhesive on one side. It's sitting here on my desk. To be able to finish this, and then I'll put a loop on it as well before I put that on. And then I actually pulled out, I had stitched this, I think I stitched this back in 2020 and just never fully finished it. This was a Mill Hill kit. So there's another ornament. And then I have my 2 snowflake ornaments from January that I need to fully finish. So when I fully finish all of those, I'll show you. But I also, as you saw me holding up behind the Mitten Kitten, I bought perforated paper, and I'm going to, back in, it would have been 2020 as well, in the Black Needle Society Nice List box, we got a booklet that has, I think, 20 ornament patterns in it. So I'm just gonna start going through, I think, from the beginning, and I'm just gonna pick what colors I want to pick and a floss, and I'm gonna stitch them on the perforated paper, because that'll make it easier for me to fully finish because I can just put a loop on them to hang and put the sticky felt on the back as the backing. So that is my plan. So I bought the perforated paper, I've bought the sticky felt, and I have the ornament booklet. I pulled it out of my pattern stash. And so I just need to look and see what the first pattern is and figure out what floss I want to use for that for March. But I did enjoy working on the ornament because since it was so small, it was another easy one versus it being my freezer, the ice or something is making weird noises. Instead of it being like a big, huge project that I'm working on, it was something much smaller. So that made it easier on my shoulder. Okay, and then other stuff I've worked on since I talked to y'all last. I should have used the lint roller on this, but I didn't. In my Humans with Cat Heads project bag from the 805 Stitcher, I am working on, from the Black Needle Society, Spooky Stories. I'm working on the bookmark. This is by Katie Landis. And I am a rep for the Black Needle Society in their vault, which is where extra items from previous boxes are. You can use the code JavaPearl5 for 5% off. So JAVAPURL. And I believe this pattern is in the vault. So, so here is where I'm at. So I finished the top and I've got off to my, I don't quite have grave finished yet. You can see what it's supposed to say. So yeah, so I'm working on that. And then I have a different pattern. I'm going to still use the, I need more coffee. The thing here, the pendant, whatever you call it, with all these beads that came with it, to do this scissor fob, but I found a different pattern that has a cat and a pumpkin that I'm going to do on that. So that will eventually happen. That's something that I work on when I finish up other things during the week. So, okay. And then in my Outlander to Better to Sleep project bag from Stitch Toolbox, I'm working on my year-long project. This is Modern Folk Embroideries, The River. And if you'll remember, I'm modifying this by taking this piece down here and mirroring it, and it's going up here where the alphabet and numbers are. And I'm on Steel City Stitchers 16 count Ada in the Crimson Peak colorway. I'm using Forbidden Fiber Co. floss in the River of Life colorway. Everything except for the project bag is from Black Needle Society. So if I stitch 185 stitches a week on this, I will be done with it by the end of the year. So you can see I finished the whole first line of these, and then I've started going back this way with the reverse, the mirrored image. And I'm loving how it's turning out. I think it's going to be really, really beautiful. So, yeah, so just 185 stitches a week on that, which doesn't seem like it's not accomplishable. I've been able to do it every week. You know, and if I get to the end of the year, or if I get to places where I'm like, I can't work on this week, you know, I'll modify, I'll adjust and be like, you know what, I'll finish it as I finish it. But I'm trying to keep myself on track to do 185 stitches a week on it so that I'll finish it by year's end. And then finally, in my Winnie the Pooh project bag from Knit Run Dig, I am working on my 25/7 project, Edinburgh Castle by Tara Luna Stitchery. And all the links to everything I'm using for this project are in the show notes, ggkcs.com. 25/7 for me is, so 25/7, if you haven't heard of it, it's a challenge for you to work on one project that you either do 25 stitches a day or 25 minutes a day on. And so I'm doing 25 minutes, and yeah. So as you can see, I'm working on this zigzag, or not the zigzag, the diagonal. So I at some point in early January, I was finished the whole top row of pages, and so now I'm started on the second row of pages. So this right here is the bottom of the second row of pages. So I will just go to here and then just do this diagonal of 8 rows all the way across. And yes, it's like 2 colors. We're in the sky, in the clouds, and so I'm stitching. So I'm getting like 120 stitches a night or something on it in 25 minutes because I'm doing 10th stitch as well, which makes it half that number of like if it was full cross. And so let me tell you my numbers and then I'll keep talking. So as of Friday night, which is when my week ends for this, and at that point I would have been, I think I had finished this square. So last night, I think I did this square and this part of this square. But that put me at 53,620 stitches complete out of 265,824. And I am at, drumroll, 20.171% complete and 10 full pages complete. I will get to 11 at some point. But I'll be like, because I think 11 ended like right here. So I still need to finish all of this in the diagonal to fully finish page 11. But in the meantime, I'll have worked like over this direction onto page 12. So it is what it is. It's fine. Yeah, so I'm just working on that as my 25/7 piece. And I'm grateful that I have that in a Q-snap because it's such a big piece of fabric that if I didn't have it in the Q-snap, I wouldn't be able to work on it. But it's definitely a balancing act and because of the shoulder. So, all right. Well, I think we're ready to move on to the next segment. And now it's time for our favorite part of the show, Yummies. Yummies are our current favorite things we like, things we want to talk to you about, Yummies. If you're new here, you may be like, who is this multi-generational additional person, Dammy, that you keep mentioning? That's my kid. They are 22 and in their senior year of college, which keeps them extremely busy. But a couple of things to share with you. First up, they were cast in 2 roles in their university's Pride and Prejudice. They played Mrs. Bennet, which is the mother, and Lady Catherine. When they started rehearsal, well, they did like a week of rehearsal prior to the school. So finals for the autumn quarter were the week of Thanksgiving here in America. And when they all went home for Thanksgiving, they didn't come back to school till January for the winter quarter. So they had like 1 week of rehearsals before they all went home for Thanksgiving. When they started meeting for rehearsals, when they all got back at the beginning of January, there was issues. Like Dammy got COVID. Multiple people in the cast and production team got COVID. So they moved rehearsals to online, to Zoom. And because of how things were going, they made the decision to do the show completely on Zoom. However, they did it differently than they had done when they had to do this last year. They filmed over the course of, I don't know, probably about 10, 12 hours, the show on Zoom. And then one of the professors edited the whole thing to make it into this. It was about 2 hours and maybe 40 minutes with an intermission long. And it really reminded me of, it had almost the kind of the feel of the Lizzie Bennet Diaries on YouTube. But they each were on their own Zoom and they got brought in and out. They were all in costume. They all had props. Their character name was on the screen just like it would be in a Zoom meeting. And they worked really well together to figure out how to make the dance scenes work. And it was very well done for what they had to do. I mean, this was like they couldn't be as they had planned on stage doing this, being able to interact face to face with each other. So I was very, very proud of Dammy and the rest of the actors and the production team, and all the behind the scenes costume and props and sound and video and the box office and just all the things. But I watched it Friday night and it was very well done, and I was very, very proud of Dammy. And I believe that's their last production, unless they might be in like something where, like, for some classes you have to like direct a one act thing, and then like students from the school will volunteer to be the actors in that type stuff. So unless Dammy does something like that, this was their last production. So for their time in university, so I'm very, very proud of them. In addition, I'm very, very proud of them because they, as you know, they came out publicly. Gosh, has it been almost 2 years ago now? I believe so. I think so. I think it's been almost 2 years ago now that they came out publicly as non-binary, and they use they, them pronouns. And as you know, we've been calling them their preferred name of Dammy for quite some time, but they decided to make it legal. And they also decided to change their full name. I'm not going to share the full name, but their new first and last name is Dammy Munroe, Munroe. So if you're friends with them on Instagram or Facebook, you've probably seen the name change. I'm still working with Facebook to change the name on our Facebook page, not profile, but page. So that is in technology, social media, behind the scenes, But so if you see Dammy Munroe, that's our Dammy, and they chose the spelling Munroe because it's the Scottish spelling, and they wanted something to connect them to our time in Scotland. So I'm so proud of them for making that decision and doing what it takes. And by doing this now, their college diploma will have their name on it as they want. So I'm really proud of them for doing that. And yeah. I also got here. This is a total another side note, but it made me think of it because of Dammy's name change. As y'all know, I changed my last name to Gilmore legally, and we all know I've shared the story of the dream, and y'all know how big a Gilmore Girls fan and whatever I am. Well, I was reading, as you're going to hear in a little while, I read a lot during my mental health time, and that was just I read a lot. But I was reading a book set in the UK. Normally it's set like in the London area, but they traveled to Scotland for this particular book in the series. And there was a character who is Scottish, whose last name was Gilmore, spelled the same way as mine is. And I was like, I didn't know that Gilmore was like a name that was from there. And so I started doing some Googling, and Gilmore is a Scottish name. So Dammy and I both now have that connection to Scotland of having Scottish last names. So that's just one more thing of like, that piece fell into place. And so that means so much. Okay. The only other thing that for Yummies this week is we got our monthly Knit Crate box, which we received this as a gift from them, and we talk about it on the show. And most of the time, the yarn and goodies from the box end up in our box of giveaway stuff for our owls and our rowels and such. So this month's theme is land and sea. And the yarn that we got was Vitalana Ascendance, which is a 100% Peruvian Highland wool, sport weight, 100 grams, 328 yards. Color weight is limestone. It's not a true white, it's more of an ecru white, but it's stunning. And it looks like it's chain plied. So we got 2 skeins of that. We also got this piece of jewelry from Cat Wrinkles, which I'm assuming that it's something that you could put on like a shawl, as like kind of a shawl pin, or you could put on a cowl. So that's cute. And then let's see, I'm going to use this to hold over the codes. So they have the box that we get, and then they have a sock box as well. But the patterns that we get a knit and a crochet pattern for the box that we get, which is what's in the green there, and then a knit and crochet pattern for the sock box. So, and then they give us a code that we can share with y'all. You can use the coupon code GEEKY20, GEEKY20, to get 20% off your first order. It will work to discount the first month of a recurring monthly subscription and on any of their shop items. And there is a link in the show notes at ggkcs.com for you to be able to use that code. All right, I think we are ready to move on to the next segment. I think that this is going to be the spot where I'm going to have to stop so that I can go get my medical massage. And then I'll come back and record the rest of the episode. All right, I'll see y'all in a bit. For y'all, it's just going to be a second. But I'll be back in a little bit. Somebody would like to remind you that they have a very cute video after the credits in every episode, and so you should make sure and stay around to see them. Right, Pink? Meow, meow. Very cute. And Mama video me, and I be very, very cute. The end. Okay, I'm ready to go eat my lunch now. Bye-bye, people. She came and sat right behind me as soon as I hit the record button. So, okay. What was the second for y'all was about an hour and a half for me. So I went and had my medical massage for my shoulder. They're working deep on the tissue and whew. Okay. So, had some lunch. I am ready to continue. And we're going to talk about what I've been reading, watching, and listening to. And I'm not going to tell you everything I've been reading, watching, and listening to, because we could be talking for the next 4 hours. And we're not going to do that. So, first, though, I'm going to remind you about our RAL, Read Along, which is a challenge for you to read 15 minutes a day, every day. I don't care what you're reading, as long as you're reading. Audiobooks do count. All the rules and how to enter are in the Facebook group. The rules are also in the show notes, ggkcs.com. By participating in the quarterly rounds, which right now we're in January, February, March, you earn entries into the year-long challenge. And at the beginning of 2023, we will draw for 3 grand prize winners, and you could be one of them. So, okay, let me scroll here. So, I'm continuing to read How to Heal Yourself When No One Else Can by Amy B. Shire. I'm also reading for my Unashamed Love Collective book club, which I believe it's open for to be able to join right now. Links in the show notes. This month we're reading Modern Kinship, A Queer Guide to Christian Marriage by David and Constantino Kaloff. I'm probably about maybe like 55% done with it. So we have book club a week from tomorrow from when I'm recording this. So I need to read the rest of it this week. I'm continuing to read Inward by Young Pueblo, reading just like a poem or thought out of it every night. I am reading and writing in the Get Untamed the Journal by Glennon Doyle. Okay, now then the books that I'm going to tell you about, I kind of tried to group together like the series and the same authors and such. So I listened to books 2 and 3 in the Stalking Jack the Ripper series by Carrie Maniscalco. So I listened to Hunting Prince Dracula and Escaping from Houdini, and now I'm listening to Capturing the Devil, which is the final book in the series. And it's about I think she's like upper teens, like 17, 18-year-old woman who is does like autopsies and such to help solve crimes. So that's been very, very interesting. The standalone book that I was going to mention that I read was Dangerous Alliance, an Ostentatious Romance by Janique Cohen. It was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. It was set like in the same time as Austen and like referenced Austen's writings throughout it. And I enjoyed it. I read the first 2 books in the Rebel Mechanics series by Shayna Swinson, Rebel Mechanics and Rebel Magisters. And I'm reading the 3rd book, Rebels Rising. And this is like, what if, it's an alternate history. What if the British monarchy was still ruling the US. But it's got the very much like steampunk type stuff in it. And it's about this young woman who is secretly trying to help break the US away from British rule. I read books 9 and 10 in the Duncan Kincaid and Gemma James series by Deborah Crombie, Now May You Weep and In a Dark House. This is set in the UK, and they are police, like inspector, detective people. The one, I think it was book 9 is the one where I found out that Gilmore is a Scottish name. Oh, you're being very cute. Let's see if I can show you. Can you see right there? Pink's birthday's coming up, and I bought her a cave, and she loves it. And I put it on the couch in her normal sleeping spot and put a catnip mat in it, and she's loving it. I will, it won't be this week's episode, but I have video of trying to lure her into using it so it's not just something else that I bought that sits and gathers dust. But that was exclusive to my patrons this week, so they got to see that process. So maybe I'll post it next week on the end of the video. Yeah, so that's the series where I found out that Gilmore is a Scottish name. Okay, these next 3 books are all standalone, but they're by the same author, Katie Allender. I listened to Marie Antoinette's Serial Killer, and this was like present day teenagers in Europe for a school trip, and somebody is murdering people, and it appears to be Marie Antoinette's ghost. I listened to Famous Last Words, which is modern day. There's a serial killer killing actresses, and it's this teenager trying to figure it out. It was creepy. And then I read The Companion by this author, and I could only read it, like I was trying, because I do a lot of my reading like before bed. Like I will get ready for bed like an hour and 15 minutes before I need to actually be going to sleep, and like brush my teeth and do all that, and then get in bed and read for an hour. And normally I like turn off the lights and just read in bed, because I read on my phone on either usually the Libby app, or if I bought the book, the Kindle app. And I had to leave all the lights on to read this one because it was creepy, but it was good. And then I'm continuing in the Ruth Galloway series by Ellie Griffiths. I read books 7 and 8, The Ghost Fields and The Woman in Blue. This is set in the UK, and it's a female archaeologist who helps the police solve crimes. So there are some reading suggestions for you. As always, all of those are linked in the show notes, ggkcs.com. They're linked both to Amazon as well as I do a bookshop.org shelf for every episode with all the books that they have available that I talk about. So, okay, some of what I've been watching, not near everything that I've been watching because, season 23 and episodes for the That's Messed Up and SVU podcast, the episodes of Law and Order Special Victims Unit. The podcast is not safe for children. We're rewatching season 2 of Gilmore Girls with the I Am All In with Scott Patterson podcast. Loving that. Okay, probably one of my favorite things that I watched during all of this was the mini series, The Woman in the House Across the Street from the Girl in the Window. And it's got Kristen Bell in it. There's only 8 episodes and they're all like half an hour long. So it's like 4 hours of your life. But Kristen Bell's character is heartbroken. I'm not going to spoil. I don't want to spoil it for y'all because, yeah. So, but she's heartbroken. She is an alcoholic, and she thinks one night that she witnesses a murder in the house across the street. And it goes from there. There are funny moments in it, but there's also heartbreaking moments in it. But I really, really enjoyed it. And like I said, 4 hours of your time. I watched the rest of the Book of Boba Fett. Really enjoyed it. Those last 2 episodes were phenomenal. Watching season 15 of Murdoch Mysteries. Listening to my favorite murder podcast. Random playlists. And such like that. So I think we're ready to move on to the next segment. And now it's time for our December, January, February, walking in a winter wonderland. Ow, this is almost over, y'all. This ends, so I'm recording this on Sunday the 20th. The OWL ends Monday the 28th, so a week from tomorrow from when I'm recording this. If you're watching it the day this goes live, a week from today. I know it's very confusing because we record and don't release until the next day. I just realized I have pink curl hair all over me from holding her to let her talk to y'all. Okay, so this started at the beginning of December. Like I said, it ends on Monday the 28th. It's for any project that you knit, crochet, weave, spin, stitch, or sew. So, any version of those things that you can convince us is related to winter. Your fallback, you made it in the winter. Even if you're in the other hemisphere, it still counts. The main rule is no whips are allowed. We've got lots of lovely prizes on our screen right now. I'm not going to talk about them in detail today because this episode I think is going to be long, but you can check them out in the show notes, ggkcs.com. And of course, I will talk about them in detail on the first podcast of March where I announce the winners. And thank you to our donors. Our Sheepy Spring Owl will be starting on Tuesday, the 1st of March. And if you would like to donate a prize to us for the Spring Owl, you can email us at ggkcspodcast@gmail.com. If you are a prize winner, you'll have 30 days to claim your prize or you forfeit it. Since I recorded last, the people who finished projects are Brittany M., Emily R., Jane S., Jennifer B.H., Caitlin M., Christy T., and Mandy P. Great job, y'all. Make sure you have filled out our Google form, which is linked in the show notes as well as in the Facebook group. The reason for that is when we go to draw prize winners, we don't, like, if you are not a yarn, if you are a cross stitcher only, we don't want to give you like a yarn prize, a knitting, crochet, weaving, spinning prize, because that's not something you'll use. So if you feel, as long as you fill out our Google form, we can make sure that you get a prize that you will, that's one of your crafts. If you don't fill out the form, you get what you get. All right. I think that's everything for this segment. Let's move on to the next one. All right, now it's time for Ask the Geeks, the part of the show where you ask us a question and we try to answer it. This week's question is from 2019, and Brittany asks, what floss channels are your favorites to watch, and do you have any advice for novice threadies? Okay, so I go in phases of what I watch, and I don't watch near as many video podcasts / floss tubes as I used to. But some of what I watch, Lindy Stitches, I enjoy her stuff. She is so funny. Probably my favorite is Michelle Bibby Stitchy. My friend Joanna, who does stitching, the high notes. My friend Erin, Two Martini Stitcher. Erin, I miss you. I hope that you start recording more. If it works for your life. If it doesn't, I totally understand and respect that. The same for my friend Bent Needle Makes. I would love to see you recording again, but I know life, and so I respect that. Lady Robbins, I love her. She's so funny, and she has given me some really good reading suggestions over the years, and also helped me. I think it was last Christmas. I think it was the Christmas before. She's a librarian, and she helped me pick books for my niece and nephews for Christmas. Love the Black Needle Society, and the Pattern Queens. So that's just a little bit of what I have been watching recent. Like I said, I move around and rotate through things, and, sometimes, this is something we've talked about over the years. Not every podcast or floss tube is for everyone. There are wonderful people out there that are recording podcasts and floss tubes that just are not my cup of tea. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with them. That's just not my cup of tea. Or maybe it was my cup of tea yesterday and it's not my cup of tea today. Or maybe it wasn't my cup of tea yesterday and today it is my cup of tea. And the same for me and Dammy, we're not everybody's cup of tea. And that's okay. And there's nothing wrong with that. So, just throwing that out there. Okay, do you have any advice for novice threadies? So, novice cross stitchers. I would recommend starting with a project that is full cross stitches only, not any fractional stitches, not any like half stitches, quarter stitches. I would start with a project. My personal preference is, if I was starting somebody new on cross stitch, would be to start them with Ada. Probably like 14 or 16 count Ada, because it's easy to count on as you're learning. You're not having to count over two like you would be on 28 count or 32 count, 36, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think as you're learning, that helps you, being able just to count over one. I think that is a really good way to start. And I would start with something that is small enough that you're going to get the gratification of finishing it in a reasonable amount of time. The reason I say that one is because, for so many years when people were wanting to learn to knit, kind of the go-to was, knit a scarf because it's easy. But a scarf takes a heck of a long time to knit. So, I would be if you're a new knitter, I would be start with a washcloth. It lets you learn, knitting and purling and basic increases. And it's something you're going to be able to finish quickly. Or knit a blanket for your kid's doll, action figure, etc. Or knit a scarf for your kid's doll. That kind of scarf, that would be very quick. So, I'm a fan of something that it have that gratification of finishing something rather quickly, even if you're for me, we were talking about this last night in the Black Needle Society Zoom. For me, knitting and cross stitch is about the process. I get gratification from the crafting aspect. That doesn't mean I don't like to finish things, But I could never finish anything from today on and still be satisfied by just the act of knitting and cross stitching. So I'm not saying like for a new cross stitcher or a new knitter, like that it's about like, oh, I must finish something. But when you're learning something new, having the gratification of, look, I made this. I made this whole thing. I can do this. I think that's important. That's my 2 cents. There you go. Let me think. Do I have any other advice for novice cross stitchers? Yeah, I mean, it's only needle and thread, and you can pull out stitches if you make a mistake. Don't be afraid to pull stitches out if you make a mistake. Yeah, I mean, for some people, it doesn't bother them that much, but I feel like in the learning process, at least, you need to be able to be comfortable with the thing of, oh, I messed up this stitch. How do I pull this out so that I can fix it? The same thing with knitting. I think something that can be really difficult for people is the thing of, oh no, I dropped a stitch. I don't know how to fix this. I have to rip out the entire project. Or, oh no, I split this stitch. I don't know how to fix it. I have to rip out the entire project and start over. I think learning how to fix a mistake is important. So, you know, if somebody is teaching you, ask them, like, if I were to do this, if I were to stitch over 2 instead of 1 on this stitch, how do I fix this? So that in the future, you're not like, well, my friend that taught me how to do this didn't show me how to fix this. So I'm going to have to wait till I see them again. Or, oh, I'm just going to have to pull everything out or grab new yarn or grab new fabric and floss and just start over. So learning how to fix mistakes, I think, is a key thing. There you go. Thank you so much, Brittany, for the question. If you have a question for us, you can feel free to post it in the Ask the Geeks section, post in the Facebook group. You can email it to us at ggkcspodcast@gmail.com. You can DM me cc.javapearl. Is it cc.javapearl? Now I'm like questioning, what is my Instagram? cc_javapearl. Goodness gracious. cc_javapearl. On Instagram, post it as a question in the YouTube comments. And thus far, in all the years we've been doing this, there's not been a question we haven't been willing to answer. So feel free to ask. All right, let's move on to the next segment. All right, friends, we made it to the end of the show. Yay. Okay, announcements. Sorry. I drank water too fast. You don't hate when you do that and then you're like, oh, I might burp or something. I don't want to do that for you. This is real life. Okay. Reminder that I am a rep for the Black Needle Society. You can save 5% on everything in the Black Needle Society vault with the code JavaPearl5. And join the waitlist at theblackneedlesociety.com to be able to become a subscriber of the every other month boxes. We are continuing to co-host the Pride Owl, the Pride Along that started in 2021. It ends the end of June of this year. There's a YouTube video in the show notes where you can find out all about it. And our hashtag is hashtag GGKCS Pride Along 2122. We'd like to say a huge thank you. Love y'all so much to everyone who supports the podcast. We're grateful that you are part of our community. If you would like to support the podcast financially, that goes primarily to shipping out prizes. Postage just keeps going up and up, y'all. It's crazy. And to technology behind the scenes as needed. There are several ways you can support financially. The main ones are Patreon and YouTube Join, which are sites where you can, or ways you can it's been too many weeks since I've done this. Pledge a certain amount to your favorite creatives and earn rewards or perks based on the level you donate at. You can learn more and sign up at patreon.com/GGKCS or by clicking the join button under any of our YouTube videos. There is a PayPal button in the sidebar of our website if you'd like to make a one-time donation. We are bookshop.org affiliates, which is an online bookstore with a mission to financially support local independent bookstores. If you purchase a book from our list, we earn a commission, and local independent bookstores also earn money from your purchase. Our site is at bookshop.org/shop/GGKCS. And we are amazon.com.co.uk and .ca affiliates. If you're going to shop on Amazon, go to our site first, click on the appropriate Amazon link, do your shopping as normal, and we earn a little money back based on what you purchase. It doesn't cost you anything extra, and it's a great way to support the podcast by doing something you were doing anyway. You can find us online at ggkcs.com. There you'll find links to everywhere else we are online. YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Instagram. I did want to say Dammy did change their Instagram username. If you were already following them, you're still following them, but their new Instagram username is Dammy Monroe, DAMIMUNROE. So you can follow them there. Our Facebook group, you have to answer the questions in order for us to approve your membership. The questions are, who's the mama, Cece or Dammy? Cece, that's me. What is our cat's name? Pink, the color. Pink or Pink Pearl, P-U-R-L. Pinky, we call her that too. Stinky Baby, we call her that too. That's probably... I'm trying to think, what else do I call her? Pretty Baby. You know. Pets don't have just one name. We call them multiple things. It's like that thing on TikTok recently of, that's not my name, and like all the names that you get called. Yeah. And then there is a question where you have to put the password in, and you will find that password in the rules, which you have to agree to in order to join the group. So that's where we do all of our L's, our RAL, anything like that is all in that Facebook group. Where else are we online? Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook group, etc. Well, with that, thank you for sticking with me today. I know this episode's probably a little bit longer than normal, as I tried to play some catch up. And again, thank you so much to everyone who had me in their hearts and was thinking about me, and to those who reached out, and I appreciate each and every one of you. And hopefully we're back on track to having weekly episodes. But I think the most important thing for me right now is to take care of my mental health, and if that means some things have to slide, that's just what we have to do. So don't forget, like Pink told you earlier, to stay tuned after the credits for a video of Pink being very cute. And we will see y'all again next time. Until then, happy crafting. Be kind to everyone around you. You don't know what somebody else is going through, and your kindness might mean the world to them. So, until next time. Sweeping in Mama's bed. Say hello? Oh, hi, Pinky. The reason I come to film you is your tail trying to escape? Is your tail trying to escape right here? Are you holding it down? Are you afraid it's gonna escape? Are you the cutest baby in the world? Yes, you are. Okay, hold on to your tail. Don't let it get away, okay?